K9 Detection Collaborative. We bring the conversation straight to you. Training tips and helpful hints you'll actually use. Real insights from real experts with a side of laughs. K9 Detection Collaborative is where it's at. It all comes down to just one thing, helping our dogs be the best they can be. K9 Detection Collaborative.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the K9 Detection Collaborative. I'm Robin Greubel, and I am here with Stacy Barnett.
Hello.
And we have a very special guest today who I remember meeting eons ago in Texas, Mr. Bob Deeds.
Wow. Very special.
Yeah. Well, and it's one of those things where I think we met at Teaks at training.
Yes.
Right. Or a CSST class or something. Like
right.
2006, 2007.
Yep.
So, Bob, why don't you kind of give because you have a lot of stuff, right?
Okay.
So right. Give us a, this is you.
Yes.
Okay. This is me. First and foremost, I'm a positive reinforcement based trainer. I really, really, really try to focus on utilizing science, because I tell you what, if you can either use the science or the science will use you.
Absolutely.
And even today, I notice that occasionally the science will start to use me. So I have to step back and take a look at it and figure out what I'm doing wrong, because usually I'm doing stuff wrong. I have been very blessed in my career. Got on a volunteer search and rescue team back in the early 90s. Was around some really, really cool, very knowledgeable people who kind of set me on a path. Just prior to me getting on Texas Task Force 1, I met my wife, who introduced me to the world of positive reinforcement-based training. I primarily had trained with compulsion, with e-collars and pinch collars. And so it was kind of a whole new world. And I remember her vividly. She had on a red shirt and culottes, and she was hot. So I wanted to learn how to train this way.
I'm like trying to picture Karen, right?
Yeah.
I had like such ulterior motives. But anyway,
I'm sure.
Anyway, so it took me really about 5 years to transition, to cross over. We always, as humans, we have a tendency to fall back to what we're comfortable with. And I would fall back instead of saying, no, I'm going to figure out how to do this without, adding compulsion. And once I put myself in a box where I had to do it, I did it. It's amazing, the way that works. So during that time, that early time, even prior to meeting Karen, and a little bit during that time, I was training some dogs for a company in Whitesboro, Patriot K9's, and I was training some detection dogs for them, primarily explosives and narcotics detection. I also trained some accelerant detection dogs for them. So I was learning that end of it. And in 2005, I joined a very horrible little club called the I Lost a Dog in the Line of Duty Club.
Oh.
Kenzie, who had been my partner at the World Trade Center, who dealt with me when I was trying to do a combination of balanced training. She put up with me all the way through that process. She got killed in a training exercise at the task force down at Teaks. And that, I think, is what really pushed me completely over, during that process. That was actually in about 2007.
I can't imagine.
And I almost quit.
Yeah.
A friend of mine out in Virginia, she was in Virginia at the time, Sonja Heritage, called me about 2:00 one morning and said to me, only the way that Sonja can say this is you can't not do that, meaning quit, which is the double negative for if you do it, Kenzie died for nothing. So, so that just changed my whole thought process. I had even told my task force K9 coordinator at one time that when I got Kenzie, I was going to look at it as a tool in my toolbox. And I lied completely because I fell in love with the dog, and it just about crushed me.
It's hard not to do. Yeah.
But it changed my feelings about it, with this species of animal, they're domesticated, and it's a gift from God. And I really think, we need to look at it a little bit differently.
I got chills when you said that. I was just like, I got chills.
Wow. Yeah.
It's a horrible club. And like right after that, Jenna Lee Gallagher, her dog got killed, her border collie, and I don't remember his name. It was a handler in Florida. His Malinois had a lung, or maybe his heart got punctured by rebar on the pile, and he died. It was in the same year. We lost 3 FEMA dogs,
which is very rare.
It is rare. I mean,
I'm glad to hear that.
Just
saying, because I'm sitting here like,
we do so much effort. Our main job is first and foremost keeping our dogs safe. You know. And so it is extremely rare in our industry for it to happen. But I guess we needed the reminder. So
inherently, what we do is really dangerous with the dogs.
Yeah, it is. And it is. There's no such thing as fake rubble. And that's what, people have to understand. Rubble is constantly trying to hurt you. And I remember like Hurley with Kenzie and every dog I ever had, that horror the moment you let them by and you let them loose and they have no fear and they run across that pile and you want to cover your eyes because it's so terrifying to watch, and then as they develop skills and you develop skills, and it becomes safer and safer over time. But it was a devastating thing to go through. It kind of changed my outlook about a lot of things, I continued with the task force up until the first day of 2016. My last 3 days, it was the day after Christmas. They had a couple of tornadoes hit Mesquite, which is an area just east of Dallas, and that was my last call out.
Okay.
So it was like I was going to retire on the 1st of January. So in fact, I never will forget, because Karen was watching something on Facebook, and she goes, wow, some tornadoes just hit in Mesquite. And I got up and I walked into the room and started to put my go bag together. And she walked in there and she goes, there is no way they're going to call you, 3 days before you retire. And my phone rang, and I held it up and showed her the screen. I said, I'm coming. And I said, you want live or HR? And they told me they wanted HR. So I loaded Remy up and we headed, which this is a government operation. So I drove 3.5 hours to College Station to drive 3.5 hours back to Dallas, which the location was only like an hour away. But
because that's how you do it. Yeah, that's how you do it.
Right.
And there's reasons for that. For anybody who watches this that doesn't understand, it's not total inepless. There's medical check-ins. And there's reasons to do that.
And the liability and all sorts of things.
But, but it still always cracked me up, that I made that drive and then back again. But anyway, I've been extremely blessed. I've gotten to work with some really cool dogs after I retired. In fact, before I retired, I actually started doing some rally started doing some IPO with Remy, my HR dog, and then Gracie, my live fine dog. I started doing rally, and then got into rally competition pretty heavy with her. And even Karen, this was so cool. I had done a little bit of rally stuff with Remy, and Karen was going to go to a competition, and she goes, "You mind if I handle Remy?" And I'm like, "Cool, go with it." So she took him in to a competition that she had never been in the ring with him before, and she won first place that day with
Nice.
Remy.
That's awesome.
And then that really even turned her on more to the idea of getting a working dog. After that, she got a border collie that was pretty hot, so it was kind of cool. I got contacted a couple of years after that by NHCSW that asked me if I would be interested in applying to be a judge. And I said, yeah, I'd love to. And that has been just a total blast. I'd like to get into AKC too eventually.
Right.
I've got a puppy now that I will probably start doing some competition with. I'm having a blast with her.
That's awesome.
Sweet, sweet dog. Got her from Jennifer Prentice out in Virginia. And her name is Sweet Caroline, and that sweet is the perfect label. This dog is dynamite. She's got nice drive, nice nerve strength. I would love to be able to do maybe some grave restoration down the road. Got somebody who's going to hook me up with a person from University of Memphis, and I'm hoping we can make that work.
Nice.
Down the road. So I've got some stuff that I'm wanting to do there, and teaching class now. I've got a pretty good group of following.
Well, because you're not in Texas anymore.
Area. No,
Right.
and in fact, we had to start over, which is the absolute dumbest thing we could have ever done in the world. This was prior to Karen doing like Kenzie classes.
Yeah.
And so we just came out here with her sister's a veterinarian in Millington, which is close to Memphis. So we moved in the lower Shelby Forest, have a beautiful house, beautiful property, really cool, and moved out here with zero income.
Oh no.
And then,
No pressure.
Fortunately, Denise came along, and that really kept us from just totally tanking. And then I finally started to build up some stuff here, and we're having a little bit of a breather now. That financial crunch that we self-inflicted on ourselves, that was just I'll call it senile old age, was pretty stupid. But anyway, it's been an adventure, and it's starting to turn around now, so that's kind of cool. Thank you, Denise Finzi, for coming along and giving Karen that opportunity. That really,
I get it.
That kept us from totally just having to bury ourselves. But anyway, that's been pretty cool. So, but it's been good. I've had a wonderful career. Probably the thing that I think that did more for me out of everything that I've ever done was meeting Bob Bailey. That guy did more to enhance my training. Going through the chicken workshops, I went through 3 of those, and going through those chicken workshops and learning the mechanical skills and stuff that go along with that. I remember, and you guys know this, if you've ever gone to a workshop or a seminar with somebody that you really have a ton of respect for, that knows more than you will ever learn in your lifetime.
Yeah, you get nervous.
Anytime. Oh, you get nervous. Yeah. And I remember, like, when I would do that errant click, you know the feeling of that click that it was the wrong
it was like, that was not mine.
And it was always when Bob was walking by. And he would just kind of chuckle and go, "Boy, that one hurt." And then he would keep walking. And it was just like, it would just kill me. And
I was possessed. It wasn't me.
Well, when he would also, it was very simple coaching. If what you're doing is not working, do something else. How simple is that?
It's not that hard.
It's not.
Worked. That's powerful.
It's simple, but not easy.
Yes.
And
simple but not easy.
And that's another Bobism. But you have to learn your craft.
Yes.
When when I get people that say, I'd like to learn how to train the way that you've trained, I say, okay, this is going to change everything you've done, because once you start doing it, you can't go back. You really can't.
No.
And part of it is ego. Part of it is I want to figure this out. This is very important to me to figure out. And so that's a huge part of it. I'd be lying if I would say, if I said, oh, it's none of this is ego driven. Part of it's ego driven. Mm-hmm. I want to learn how to do this.
Yeah.
Right.
I want to progress. I want to keep getting better. If you don't get better, what's the point? I think even God has that plan for us. Keep getting better.
Yeah. And I know that one of the first times I think I met Karen was at a chicken workshop in Texas when you volunteered me, which was like one of the best things ever, to work with.
You got volunteered?
I think I got voluntold.
Voluntold.
Yeah.
Yes.
That I was working with Meta. Is it Meta?
Yeah. Meta. Yeah. It's spelled METTE, but it's pronounced like with an A on the end. Meta.
Right.
Yeah.
And she was like 15 at that age and brilliant.
I don't even think she was that old yet.
She may not have been.
I think she was closer to 13.
Oh, wow.
Because when, or maybe even, she was probably 13. Because I remember when I asked Bob, I said, could I sign this kid up for this? And he was kind of reluctant, because he goes, a lot of times kids don't have the stuff, to coach adults and stuff like that. They won't stay what they're truly thinking and everything. And I remember Bob walking up to me 3 hours into it, and he's like, oh my God, where'd you find this kid? She's incredible.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That was my first chicken workshop. I've done 2.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert for everybody listening.
I was going to say, speaking of chickens.
Yeah. Bob and I are teaming up to teach chicken workshops in Iowa.
Yay!
Yay!
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're based on what Bob and I learned in the original chicken workshops. And then we're taking it, and for the first one, we're not doing any dogs, but it's the full 5 days. It's not a chicken camp. It's a chicken workshop.
Yep.
So we're super.
Tell me the difference. Like, what do you mean by chicken workshop? Like, what is?
So a chicken workshop, and this is kind of how I think of it. So Bob can tell me if he has different feelings. Chicken workshops bring about more of the science into it. So is what Bob was talking about, either you're using the science or the science is using you.
Yep.
Right. It's a lot of balance of here's some actual science lecture, and then we're going to go work on mechanical skills with chickens.
Gotcha.
And one of the really nice things about the chickens, they don't take visual cues like dogs. And they're really fast.
Super fast.
Yeah.
Your observational skills develop and stretch whether you want them to or not.
Right.
And in fact, something else, Karen and I were sitting here one night a couple of years ago, which is kind of cool because we never got to sit and watch TV, and here we occasionally do that. We'll even, don't tell anybody, but we even hold hands every now and then, so it's kind of cool. So we're sitting here watching TV one night, and I go, oh my gosh. And she's like, what? I said, I just figured out what dog training is. And she looks over at me and she's like, well, good, do tell, and I said, tendency. And she's like, what? I said, that word, tendency. It's a perfect description. You're either changing a tendency for something you don't like, you're capturing a tendency from something you like, or you're creating a new tendency that you need. And the reason why that word tendency is so important is because it forces you to observe what the dog is doing.
Right.
Wow. I love it.
That's awesome.
I even tell my pet dog clients that. I said, if you will put that word up at the top of the list in your vocabulary and think of that word tendency, man, that's everything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you have to know something about the animal in general that you're training. Robin said chickens are really, really fast. Okay, that's one thing. Another thing that you have to know about chickens is why they peck. Chickens peck, they'll peck to turn over a rock. So when they peck, it's kind of at this angle.
It's a
okay.
scooping. It's like a scooping
it's
mechanism.
a scooping. But that's not what you want for the purpose of what we're doing. We want them to peck straight up and down. Okay. It's very important because if they're pecking at an angle, the objects that, if we're doing discrimination, we're having them pick out a triangle out of 3 objects that are shaped differently, like a circle, a square, and a triangle. If they're pecking at the angle, they're constantly knocking it off of the table.
Right.
So you lose all your continuity.
Right.
So you need an up and down pecker. All right. So Karen made the mistake when we were in Baltimore. We'd gone up to Baltimore, Connecticut. We met in Baltimore. I flew up there. She picked me up. We went to Connecticut for a chicken workshop, and she made the mistake of capturing a scoop instead of an up and down peck.
The angled pecker, not the up and down pecker.
Yes,
Right.
and it took her a good 2 or 3 hours
to
extinguish
unteach that. Yeah.
Whoa.
They're that fast.
Wow.
Oh, it was incredible. There were a couple of guys there from one of the military bases that one of the special operations groups works out of primarily. There were K9 handlers for that particular group. And I'm a little bit competitive, and they were a little bit competitive. So
Yeah, thanks.
Bob got kind of tickled. He said this was the first time he had ever had any of his trainers smack talk each other in the middle of his chicken workshop. So
really?
He made a rule after that where there was no talking other than coaching because we were competitive. But I was able to get my discrimination first that day, so I got bragging rights. But anyway, it was an incredible experience. But understanding that tendency going into it, that chickens have that tendency. So you need to stay away from that. You really need to stay away from that.
And the thing that I learned is that chickens can see red better than blue. And red, so I show up to my first chicken workshop with red fingernail polish on. And the chicken is trying to peck my finger. So literally during the lecture, I'm peeling off my nails because they were fake. So I'm peeling off my nails. Good. The next workshop, the next couple of workshops I went to, I showed up. So I went home and did my own research, right? I had red fingernail polish on my toes. And then the next time I would go out and collect eggs in flip-flops. In flip-flops. And I was like, okay. So then I started doing blue fingernail polish, and the chickens are like, meh, blue, whatever. And And so the next chicken workshop I showed up to, I was wearing blue fingernail polish and didn't have any problems whatsoever. It was the weirdest. I mean, that was just
so funny.
Yeah. And as a trainer, for just that lesson of, hey, what's salient to the animal.
Right. No, knowing your learner, you know.
And red fingernail polish was a distraction.
Wow.
For my chicken to not peck the yellow circle.
I think about it after that too, because and this is something I miss about not being in Texas, is we would go to Orca every year. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
Yeah.
It's organization out of University of North Texas. Jesus Ruiz Royales, that's a mouthful. He would put that thing together every year, and they'd bring in people they'd bring in Bob Bailey and they'd bring in a bunch of different folks and have a panel that would teach and lecture all week long. And I remember some of the avian guys, the bird trainers, talking about specific bird traits. And a lot of that stuff, in fact, was kind of over my head. But then after going to a chicken workshop and learning some of the science, it was so cool to go to that and actually know what they were talking about.
Yeah.
That was pretty neat. But I tell you what, the chicken workshop did more for my ability to coach other people. So if you're a trainer and you're teaching clients, it's worth the price of admission right there.
Yes.
But what it does to your observational skills, and you don't even realize this until maybe even months after you get back and you start working with your own dog and you're watching people train and you're looking at the mechanics and you're making slight suggestions, for adjustments and what they're doing as far as their timing, and their whole reinforcement strategy and everything. It is unbelievable what these workshops do.
Well, and I think one of the things that I took, I think it was chaining, cueing, where the chicken has to go around the cones.
Yep.
Which that entire lesson on placement of reinforcement, on teaching a chicken to do a serpentine around cones was, that's one of the things that drove that particular concept home to me, that and teaching a go out to a chicken.
Yeah.
Did you teach directionals?
You can.
You can. You really, there'd be no reason why you couldn't.
Right.
It really wouldn't be. In fact, one of the things that I'm going to come up there and spend about a week next month, and we're going to play around, and that's one of the things that we'll be looking at, I'm sure, is curriculum and what we're going to attempt to do.
Are we keeping some of the same exercises? Are we going to create new ones?
Yeah.
Because I love directionals. Bob loves directionals. The most of the rest of the world hates directionals.
I've enjoyed them so far.
Well, let me tell you, if I can impart anything at all to you, Casey, let me tell you something. What I believe about directionals are one of the single most important things that you can do as far as handling your dog in a disaster situation. Most of the tests that I see handlers fail is because they don't put enough stock into training directionals properly into the FSA.
Okay.
They think it's just an exercise I have to complete in order to be able to go on or to pass the FSA test.
Right.
The platforms that you're sending the dog to are not the important part. The important part is everything your dog can do in between the directionals.
Okay.
You do this emergency stop, this token emergency stop where the dog's coming towards you in the FSA.
Yeah.
Can you do it if the dog's going away from you?
Right.
Can you do it if the dog's running, across from you?
Yeah.
And they're not looking at you? Can you still do that?
That's stimulus control and generalization.
Well, and if you do directionals correctly, and you have these incredible reinforcement strategies in place, where you're not stair stepping and constantly making it harder, but you're doing, variable reinforcement schedules. So you're developing, speed and understanding of the dog's part. And when you do get involved and you ask your dog to do something, your dog looks at you and go, Dad's got my back, or Mom has my back. That's what you want. And people overlook it. They just overlook it. And I think that it is one of the sexiest things you do as a USAR handler.
It is.
To be able to move your dog around the pile.
That is so cool.
When I certified Gracie, who was my dog after Kenzie had gotten killed, I, from start to finish, did it in about 4 months.
Yeah.
all the way through my
Wow.
advanced certification.
Wow.
And when we took our advanced certification, she was not ready to take the advanced certification. Okay.
But sometimes you do it because you're told.
I was able, and I was looking at it, we were short handlers. We only
Right.
had
Yeah.
about, I think at
Yeah.
that time, only about 8 handlers. And so I was going to push it. I passed that test because I had great directional control.
Wow.
When we originally did her original assessment, they told me that the rescue group that I got her from said she was a year and a half old because they knew what I looked for. Okay.
Yeah.
So we took her down, did the assessment, in our assessment where we threw toys on the pile. She never found the toy once, but she looked the full 3 minutes that we required each time.
Right.
So her hunt drive was in place. She had no idea how to search. She didn't know how to do it. It wasn't there. And then I got her, and over the course of the next month, I was very frustrated because it was like her drive was all over the place. It was weird. But she also gained about 12 pounds during that time. And I remember my task force leader looking at me and saying, Bob, this dog was not a year and a half old.
No.
I think they lied about her age. And so she went from she was a mini lab from 40 pounds up to 52 pounds, and grew proportionally. So we pulled her from the program, even though she had passed the assessment. I went back to the city of Fort Worth and I asked, do you guys have records before this rescue group picked her up? And they did. She was an owner release at 6 months of age. I got her when she was 7 months of age.
Oh my.
She wasn't even old enough to pass the
FEMA assessment.
The test to get on. Well, to even get on our task force.
Yeah.
So we pulled her completely from the program, and I just let her grow up.
Yep.
And then from the moment I actually started training her, then until we passed certification, it was 4 months. So,
people underestimate the value of letting a dog mature.
Oh yeah. You got to do it. In fact, my girl now. In fact, I got frustrated one day. As many years as I've been doing this, I went out. I was playing with her, and she wouldn't go pick up a toy and bring it back to me. And I came in, and I was all frustrated and stuff. And Karen talked me down off the ledge, and there's this thing called teething. I know
teething. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
And so she's going through that.
We've had these conversations, Robin and
I went back out and I looked at the toy and there's blood on it, and I'm going, I am a complete idiot, Yeah,
you forget, right?
Yeah, you do, So I didn't mess with toys for about a month, and went out last week and threw it again, and she's back totally where she was, and she's tugging and everything. So
yeah.
So that's one of those things that God has to humble us every now and then,
And the fun thing about the animals, I don't care if it's the dogs, the donkeys, the chickens, whatever. When you're trying to do training, there's nothing more humbling than working with another sentient being that has their own motivators.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Especially when they're growing and maturing and becoming and going through adolescence. And And the always interesting thing to me, and I didn't understand it the very first time I went to a chicken workshop, but some of the very first stuff that we do is we teach people how to hold a cup.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because the chickens, if you are a sloppy cup holder,
right here.
The chickens will dive into your cup.
I have a dog like that.
Yes, the dogs that dive
Remy
into your
was
treat
like that.
bag. Yes,
Brava. She's always got a half an eye on your treat bag, and if I'm searching and she's like, "Ooh, it's open," she will literally hang her whole body into my treat pouch.
Same thing.
And she's like a snake. She's like, she will dive towards that thing faster than, I mean, she's faster than one of those Western Diamondback rattlesnakes. She's like, oh, right? And I have to be just as fast to slap it shut, because otherwise I'm going to have a Labrador head
all the way in the bottom
in my waistband.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and the
That's
chickens
hilarious.
love it when they get a hold of your cup and they'll hook their beaks in it and they'll spill it. So then it goes flying all over the table and they're like, thanks for the free snacks.
That's self-correcting right there.
Yep.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's it's also one of those things that I didn't understand until, like what Bob said, is until you got home. And then you're watching people. And it's almost like after the chickens, you go into a zone and you'll be like, okay, here's a minute behavior. Here's a minute behavior. I have to fix this one before that one can get fixed. And it turns into a whole, because think about it this way. You're actually at a chicken workshop. You're trying to time your click to when your chicken pecks the table. And if you've ever watched chickens, they peck really fast. And the fun thing is too, because if you've gone to a chicken workshop previously, typically you don't have what they call virgin birds, naive birds. That's what they call them, is naive birds.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here going,
Yeah. So they're naive birds.
I'm looking at you like, okay. But I'm also like, I did a workshop with chickens, but they were trained chickens.
Right.
Yeah.
These are chickens who maybe they've been taught to stand on the table.
Okay.
So they have no extra behavior that somebody else put on the chicken that you have to correct.
Oh, okay.
So because I live on a farm and I have a lot of chickens.
You do have a lot of chickens.
Everybody's going to get at least one, if not two, naive birds every time they come out. So all of the mistakes that are on your chicken are yours.
So you got to own them.
Yeah, you have to own it. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And when is this time that you two are teaching this wonderful, amazing?
They're in March. I'll include a link to the page for where people can go register. And the nice thing is the class sizes are small, and the pricing includes staying on the property, so you don't have to get a hotel room or anything.
I was looking at those dates and I'm like, I think I'm going to miss.
Yeah, you're probably doing task force stuff, but it's like the second and third weekend of March.
But there'll be others. So
there are going to be others.
The calendar.
Yeah. I mean, we're planning on, this is the first round, and Bob and I'm excited for Bob to come up for a week, because
I am so excited for you guys.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. Okay, Bob, what's the biggest thing that you can correlate back to some of the chicken workshop stuff?
While you were talking about the chicken diving in the cup, and Stacy, you were talking about your dog, diving into your bait bag. Remy, my last HR dog, would get frustrated if I tried to lump or if my timing were off, and that frustration would build into a nipping thing where he would like hit my shirt, and every now and then my skin was under that shirt. So
that's a good punisher.
And you were talking
there.
about the mongoose thing.
Yeah,
I would walk in the house. He'd be on leash with me, finish the training session, and I would walk in, and Karen would look up, and she would look at this shirt with holes all on the front of it, and she would smile and go, "Honey, how was your training session?" And
I'm picturing this. I know Karen.
All right, so yeah,
and I'm picturing this, and I'm laughing.
Oh yeah, well you can picture it. I learned to laugh about it, but it was that direct correlation. It was that reminder. Remy would use, positive punishment on me to remind me that I learned some stuff while I was at that camp, at that workshop. One of those things being pay attention to delivery, pay attention to timing, pay attention to curriculum. Are you thin slicing? Are you breaking everything down into its smallest element?
Yeah.
He was saying, I'm not a lab, I'm a Malinois. There's some differences here. And I have needs.
I have tendencies, right?
Yes, I have tendencies.
I have tendencies.
And so that was a direct correlation that I was able to bring to it. Remy had to help. He had to help me a little bit.
But that's right. They have to remind you a little.
But still, it the humbling experiences continued.
Yeah.
But that was so critical in what I was able to bring from a chicken workshop to this, and then putting some thought into my training session before I got out there, actually starting to plan a session and starting to plan. Bob Bailey always says that, when you train, Pavlov is on your shoulder.
Right.
And he is. And because God has a sense of humor, Murphy is always on this shoulder because you have Murphy's Law. So planning your strategy with some side roads.
Yeah.
If this starts to happen, because I know the tendency of this dog, if this starts to happen, what should I do? What turn should I make? What should I be prepared to do?
Yeah, what feedback is your dog giving you? Yeah.
And I've been very blessed, and a lot of it, I think, is because of the way I train. I've been able to develop dogs with good food drive and good toy drive. Pretty balanced dog. Even my mouths have had pretty decent food drive. I know doing Mondio Ring, and this was a suggestion somebody else made, but it was a great suggestion. Is when I would send Moggins, I had a big 95-pound Belgian Malinois. I still have him. He's pretty old now, but he's a big boy.
That's
and
huge.
When I would send him downfield for a face attack, for those of you who don't understand, is not biting the face. It's
right.
French translation, the front, full frontal. When I'd send him downfield for a face attack, one of the little tests that I would do prior to that is he would come into my right side and lay down, which was, he would only get sent for the right side or from between my legs, never from my left side. He'd be on the right side. I would mark it with a stationary mark like good, and I would feed him and I would watch. And if he would eat that food, he was ready to send.
Okay.
If he wasn't, I would do something else as far as some type of ritual to get him in the right mindset. If he could not eat that food and I sent him, I may not get him back again without having to do the walk of shame, let's go, the collar down, let's go. So I needed to make sure that I had layered in the right amount of impulse control.
Yeah. What's your arousal state? Yeah.
Yeah. What is it?
Yeah.
And that was a huge thing. And that's something that really I kind of learned after, and I want to start looking at that with some of these chickens again as arousal state. I want to see if we can even play around a little bit with some ritual stuff. I don't know.
I don't
either. Never have really done that.
I've never thought about that with chickens.
Can I do something with arousal state? It may be a fruitless effort, but I think it'd be interesting to look at, and we'll see.
Cool. Yeah. And that's one of those things where it's just like, and what other, Bob and I have been kicking around, what exercises do we have to do in dog training?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That we can take and let's teach a chicken to do it first.
That's cool.
Right. So that when people
that's
leave,
really cool.
There's the current workshops, the way they're set up, absolutely direct applicability. And can I teach a chicken to go out and jump on a platform and stay there at the other end of an 8-foot table? That sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Which is directionals. And for people who don't know what directionals are, it's basically, can you stand on home base and tell your dog to run to a particular pattern around a baseball diamond and hit the bases? Is kind of what directionals is. So in case you didn't know.
And again, my deal on that is that's cool. But the sexy stuff is when you can replace a base like first base with an A-frame and have your dog go over that and stop. and
Yeah.
then send your dog to pitcher's mound, and then maybe third base is a tunnel and send your
Yeah.
dog through that, and
Right.
maybe second base is a barrel with somebody in it.
Right.
And so that's the sexy
Wow.
stuff right
Well,
there.
and
Then I'm sorry, there's the stuff in between is like all of a sudden, your chicken or your dog, right,
right.
Yeah.
is going in the wrong direction. How do you address that before they actually get on the wrong,
Right.
Yep.
platform?
And I know Bob and I have seen lots and lots of people at FEMA evaluations
Yeah.
where the dog doesn't do the perfect pattern for directionals,
Yeah.
but it's actually, and I've told people who, they're doing the directional pattern and their dog
Yeah.
takes a wrong cast,
Yeah.
and they can stop their dog and get their dog back on pattern where they need
Yeah.
it. I would rather see that.
I'm going
Exactly.
to be honest. This conversation, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting. This conversation is powerful for me because as I'm working directionals with my dog and I'm doing this pattern, I'm like, I'm asking her to, hear and then trying to stop her to get her back on to home base, not home base, pitcher's mound.
Yeah.
Right. And she comes past it and then I can stop her and then I send her back to
That's
the pitcher's
lovely.
mound. For me, I'm seeing that as a failure, as my
No,
pattern
no,
wasn't
no,
right.
no.
Mm-mm.
Don't even think that way. In fact, Stacy, do you know who Shirley Hammond was?
Yeah, I have her
Okay,
book. I have a book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shirley always referred to her. She was the grand dame of search and rescue. You know?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
And I remember she actually certified me on my first FSA.
Wow.
And I remember I was a little down in the dumps because my dog had messed up on a couple of the bases, and I had to stop her and send her back.
Yeah.
And a couple of people that had gone in front of me, had these perfect runs. And Shirley, grabbed me by the arm before I walked off, and she said, "That was a beautiful run."
Wow.
And I think she saw the confused look on my face. So she came
Yeah.
up to me later and she said, "Bob, it's not a perfect world in a disaster environment. Your dog will make mistakes. You will make mistakes, but it's the recovery is the important part."
Right.
That's the most important thing. So,
Wow.
that's where the handling is. It's all the things that you can train, that you can put into recovering from a mistake,
Wow.
are the important part. That first base, pitcher's mound, third base, second base, home plate, anybody can do that. In fact, I'm teaching pet dog trainers to do that in a class. Monday night, we have a directional class, and they're having
That's
a blast.
lovely. Yeah.
And
Wow.
I've even, in fact, part of the training for that, Denise Finzi has a fly behavior. Where she
Yeah.
sends
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've started the way I teach directionals now. I actually incorporate that into the early part of directional training,
Okay.
just because the when the dog starts to do something else, and you can add that into generalization.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's huge. It's powerful. And so the dog is used to changing course and doing something different right in the middle of it, So that's the sexy part, is being able to change,
Wow.
And adapt
change
stuff.
on a fly
Yep.
and fix stuff, That's it.
That just made me feel so much better. Like,
Oh, yeah,
you don't
Yeah.
like this has been like a therapy session. At the end of this, it's just like you have no idea how much that makes me feel better, because I'm sitting here going, "Oh man, I got to keep working on this." Like, she's coming and she's missing that home base again. I got to send her back up onto the platform. I got to stop her, send her back up. I'm
One of the
Wow.
things it's
Okay.
it's
Thank you.
You're welcome. One of the fun things about directionals, and I know we're spending a lot of time in this episode talking about this.
I know, and I totally took us off, and
But it's
No,
okay.
it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah.
No,
This is important.
because people look for, to be perfectly honest, training directionals and teaching people how to do that is the closest thing I've come to a chicken workshop without having chickens.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you have to use so much of the science to get the dog to do the thing, because the way I know, and the way Bob and I both teach directionals, there's no compulsion involved in it whatsoever. Right. It's
No.
all positive based reinforcement. And so you have to have an understanding. Are you reinforcing a fast go out? Are you reinforcing, do you have enough weight on reinforcement on the base?
Right.
Can I generalize it to a point? And, if you have an operational level dog, I should be able to point you in a direction, and you will randomly pick out a target in that general direction. And that's what you will run to. And some of my coolest things are, actually on deployments, watching my dog stop them on a burned out structure, turn them around, send them where I need to get their nose because I can't walk over there because it's too dangerous.
Right.
And I can then mark them with my whistle or a verbal for taking the directional.
Wow.
Right. And because I need to reinforce my dog for working with me.
Yeah.
And I can reinforce a directional on a deployment and I don't have to worry about finding odor.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I'll tell you this is a real world thing that happened to me. World Trade Center, 3 or 4 nights into it, I worked the night shift. And at night is when they moved most of the stuff away from the pile to take it to the Fresh Kills landfill over in Jersey. That's where the human remains dogs ended up, being over in that area. And I had my dog up on the pile, finished searching the area I was searching. I called her. I was back probably 50 yards or so off the pile. And as I call her, a couple of the rescue guys behind me, they're going, Bob, Bob, Bob. And I look over and one of the big trucks is coming.
Ooh.
And I immediately, Kenzie down, and the truck passes. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't know, did she get hit? Did she get run over? I had no idea. And the truck passes and she's laying on it down with her tail wagging on the other side of it,
Wow.
And real world.
Wow.
That was my first deployment, was the World Trade Center.
Oh my gosh.
First
Whoa.
federal deployment. So yeah.
Wow.
So
Wow.
and I didn't even think about it in terms of the directional control aspect of it and everything
Yeah.
until years later. And I go, man, this stuff is so important. It is so important.
I mean, for as a brand shiny new USAR handler here, this is really great to hear.
And something I want to challenge you to do something, and you'll be able to do it because I know you're a good trainer.
Oh, well. The gauntlet's been thrown.
When you guys set up your agility stuff and you start training it, my challenge to you is to go stand in the middle of everything and direct your dog to each of the elements. So that's it. Yeah.
I have some of that set up in my training room's not very big, but
challenge accepted.
Yeah. It's the ground is lava. Right. Yeah. Can you direct your dog? And yes, they have to run between obstacles, but even if you have some of the places have nice interconnected agility equipment. And you could stand in the middle. I know we had some for Iowa for a while where I could stand in the middle and I could get my dog. They basically had it set up like an E with different levels.
Nice.
And can you get your dog to climb stuff and walk across stuff and sit and down and all sorts of things.
Change directions on stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have done quite a bit of that, just even with the stuff I have. I've got a lot of stuff at home that is configurable, and I change it around a lot. And I started doing more of that before I even did a whole lot with the platforms.
Right. And the that level of control helps it be really safe at deployments because weird stuff happens at deployments.
Yeah.
So, all right, Bob, we usually do takeaways at the end of an episode. So I can go first.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. Right. So you guys can think.
Yep.
All right.
I love the word tendency because it removes the concept of behavior. It is the tendency for the dog to do X. It is the tendency for the dog to do Y. And if we start thinking, I want that tendency to either increase or decrease, then it starts helping drive your training. That's lovely.
Yep.
So that
Yep.
was my
and it lets us know if we need to do an incompatible behavior
Right.
or a new behavior or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I think my takeaway when I started thinking about for me, it was actually the in-between stuff when we were having that conversation about it's adjusting what the creature's doing, right? And so I'm kind of picturing the adjusting it if the dog doesn't like in the directionals, like they come past it, and that the power of fluency and the power of the generalization has to do with how you've built up those fundamental pieces and and really how have you sliced and how have you trained those fundamental pieces that the outcome, what you're actually looking for is not necessarily, the power is not in perfection. It's in the ability to take those adjustments and flex on those adjustments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a huge deal. So I've actually got a couple of takeaways. My first takeaway, I am so excited for you, Stacy, in getting to start your journey.
Thank you.
I'm like living vicariously through you again, because I remember what it was like when we got on the task force. I don't know if any of you guys knew Carla Collins. She's passed away, but Carla was handler on our task force, wonderful person. And I never will forget, we rode up together the first time. Actually, I met her at a Walmart parking lot in Burleson, Texas, and we dropped my car off and loaded stuff in her car, and I jumped into the passenger seat of the car, and she goes, "You ready?" And I go, "Yeah." And she goes, "Do you want to get your dog off of the downstay in the parking lot, loaded in the crate?"
Oh, I can so picture. I met Carla when she had Scooby. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this was actually before Scooby, but anyway, it was hilarious though, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And I go out, and Kenzie's laying there with her tail wagging, so obedient. So anyway, but I feel the excitement that you have right now, and I am so excited for you. So that's pretty cool.
Thank you. I am too, and I feel very honored for the opportunity.
The other takeaway from this, and thought about it a little bit, but I really started thinking about it today, is what all can we get a chicken to do?
Yes.
And I want to look at the standard stuff because that stuff was done for a reason. We got to remember teaching mechanical skills, but I'm really pumped about this little pre workshop trip coming up for a week and seeing what we can get the chicken to do. And I'm hoping that down the road, Karen can get more involved in the chicken part of it too. She's working on getting
She's got some other commitments. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she's got to get a knee replaced too. So being on your feet, those chicken workshops are physically demanding for the instructors and stuff like that. So
well, and I know people have asked, can I bring a dog? And no, don't bring a dog.
Yeah.
Because you are so exhausted after that. And the way that it's everything is set up to be an immersive type of experience for you to come here and it's literally to focus on your skills as a trainer for 5 solid days.
Wow.
I mean, if bringing a dog is like a deal breaker, if because
we
of
can
logistics
talk about
you have to, that's we'll discuss it with you. But if you can just focus on your relationship with your chicken,
yes, both of them.
Your training relationship, that's going to be the biggest deal for sure.
It is.
You'll get so much more out of it. Yeah. I just brought, in fact, the first one, Karen was actually teaching around the East Coast. So I flew out to Baltimore, met her, and then we went to Connecticut. And I think we had a dog with us, but it was logistically, it was kind of a strain a little bit. When I went over to Dallas to do the 2 additional workshops over there, I didn't have one of my dogs with me, and it was really nice just to be able to focus on that.
Yes.
And that was kind of cool.
Yeah. All right, Bob, thank you so much for joining us. And we thank everybody for listening, and go train.
K9 detection, collide.